Welcome to the show. And yes, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Simmons. I'm the host of the Suicide Prevention Show, where we are making suicide a thing of the past. And I'm very happy that you're here. Why? Here's why. Because we're going to be talking with one of my favorite people in the whole world. This is my friend Adele. She is amazing. And she's married to an entrepreneur. We're about to have a talk. So here we go. So Adele, come on in and unmute and put on your video. There we go, tech matters. Yay.
How are you, Jackie?
I am well, how are you?
Good, great to have me here. Thank you. Great to be with you here. And thank you for having me. I made that sentence.
You tried to put a lot into 2 words, I think.
Right. I think so. Well, English being second language and all,
Yeah, and you live in Canada. So, I mean, that's a whole nother complexity to communication.
True. Lots of pleases, lots of thank yous.
Lots of pleases and lots of thank yous. Always a good thing. You know, few sorries. But
yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. A boots, too.
So love my Canadian connections. So it's all in jest too. There's no sparring allowed. But Adele, I mean, we met because you're married to an entrepreneur and I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, so you're not an entrepreneur in the classic sense of the word. All right.
Yeah.
Just like I wasn't. When I was doing pure consulting, that wasn't considered being an entrepreneur. You know? Because it's different.
Correct.
And your husband wasn't an entrepreneur when you all started out. Not really. Nope. Okay. So
yeah, we were kids when we started out.
You were kids when you started out.
A little bit different.
There we go. All right. So we're going to play back and forth because you're one of the smartest people I know, and you do cybersecurity. And so you do a lot of, we're going to call it analytical thinking, right?
Yep.
So if you were going to analyze, what is the biggest challenge of being married to an entrepreneur?
That you think he or she is here. In my case, it's a he, but they're not here.
Oh, say more about that.
So, I may be talking to him and he's nodding and his eyes are like looking at me and he's not like touching his phone or anything. And then just like that. And then I'm like, hello, is there anybody? Is anybody there? And then he's like, yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm like, okay. And he does get the gist of it, but he doesn't really feel he's just not there, and he's like, yeah, mechanically he's there, everything is happening, but he's not analyzing anything, nothing is really getting through, and then he's like, no, sorry, I'm back, yeah, I did hear you saying this and this and this, so oh, that means that you're feeling this, oh, thank you for sharing, okay, tell me more. I'm like, okay, thank you for having me back. So then now I move on, I talk to him a little bit more, and then he's like, okay, and then slowly back. So
The reality is that when you're an entrepreneur, your brain doesn't often fully disengage from your business. And that's what you're describing. That's a very beautiful way to describe it. Okay, so entrepreneurs, heads up, what would you like for him to do? Just for this one challenge. Because we need to know what would make it better. Or is it just that this is the way it is?
No, I think, the thing is, I really understand that he's doing his best and he wants to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So, like having the two-way understanding, I think really helps. So I understand that, and he understands that I want him here. So then I guess it's always a back and forth. Sometimes like he's completely here, and sometimes it's like I feel like it's also up to me to remind him to please come back, you know. And or sometimes I just realize that as much as I don't like to accept it or acknowledge it, whatever that is happening for him is a lot more important than what I'm telling him.
In that moment.
And
Got it.
yes, and then so then I flip it and I said, you tell me what's happening. What's happening with you right now? What are you thinking about? And then so he, lays all out for me, and then I'm like, okay. So then he finally gets it out of his system, and then he talks it out. He talks while he's analyzing his own, whatever issue he was thinking about, and then he comes back and he's like, okay, I'm clear, I'm good. Now you talk, and then so I can go back. So I guess like I'm okay with what he's doing because he's trying his best.
So I'm going to just back the truck up here a little bit.
Sure.
Was it always that easy?
No.
Okay, let's take people in a wayback machine.
Yes.
Because you're describing a very evolved, very functional relationship. And
right.
I'm an entrepreneur. My relationships are not always so functional, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah.
So what was the problem with I can't even figure out how to answer the question because I am so caught up in this visual you just gave me. I'm going, oh my, you could have been describing the conversation that Mark and I were having, where he was talking and I was nodding, and it was about the things that are important to him in his life and where he is right now that had absolutely nothing to do with my business. And I was, maybe engaged over here thinking about putting together the summit. Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, you were sitting in my house last night.
Oh, I know.
So the entrepreneurial experience is one of very heavy engagement with the change we want to see in the world. And that can leave some distance in a relationship. You guys have solved it by having a clear understanding about what's going on. But before you understood what was going on, what did it look like to you?
So I guess when he just started out, first of all, I have to tell you a little bit about what, what he had in mind about entrepreneurship before he went into it. And that was his experience with his dad. You know a lot about this. So because his dad was also an entrepreneur, he knew the pains of an entrepreneurial family and the family members' pain, not having them around and or them being around but not really being there, just physically being there and not really mentally be there. So he kind of knew it going into it, and he talked a lot of that. Like he talked about it to me a lot, and then so this was completely a new concept for me. This whole entrepreneurial life and businesses and stuff like that. Because my parents, they're both doctors. Like, well, my mom's a physiotherapist, but they always had their own clinic that was like always full. Like they didn't do any marketing, any business stuff for that. Like they always had a lot of patients, and sometimes money wasn't good in my childhood, but because they would give a lot of it away, but there was always money. There was always money. Like we could live smaller, but live and have everything. But then his childhood with his dad and being a real entrepreneur wasn't the same. And so he knew the pain, and then he talked about it to me, and he told me a lot. And then so I was kind of like, I thought I know. And okay, so that's the pain. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Thank you for letting me know and whatever. But nah, like it was still a big learning curve, obviously. So I went into it and I was like, okay, I got this. So in the beginning, I was like, yeah, just suck it up. He did tell you, and you said, yeah, I understand, and I'm okay with this, and let's go. And so now just suck it up. So, this is it. This is it. He's not around. He was working like crazy hours. You
Mm.
know him, right? Whenever he's starting something fresh, he's like 100% there. And he was also thinking that, so she knows, and sometimes he'd check in, and I'd be like, no, I'm good, yeah, all good, you're not around, I get it, this is your passion, blah 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 blah, like all understanding wife and all. And then and then also I was like, oh, no, darn, I cannot do this. And then so we start talking, and then he's like, but I thought you knew. And I said, yeah, but this is not working for me, like I can't do it this way. And so we started like learning our own feelings and talking about it, because for a long time we didn't talk about it. He's like, you knew, so you're still okay. I'm like, yeah, I knew, so I'm okay.
Okay,
So
so we call that being stoic, not the same kind of stoicism we were talking about earlier today, but
yeah.
you really were in the suck it up buttercup kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Mm. What happened to change that? What did,
Well, I guess it was just too much. It was just too much. And I went like, I was alone everywhere. I'd go to get-togethers and parties and meeting friends by myself. He would come back home very late. We wouldn't have any catch-up time. I'd really miss him. Like, I really missed him. So there were so many things. Like, it was impacting everything, and I was doing a lot of things for myself at the house. Um, I guess like it was just too much, and I didn't even have this enough time to talk to him, let alone him not be there when I'm talking to him. That's an issue that comes later. I wasn't even there. I didn't have him at all. So I talked to him, but I didn't come I didn't come across as if I'm nagging. But I started talking to him as if I want sympathy. I want my friend back. I wasn't like, a lot of times in our relationship, the way it works is when one of us is doing something that the other one is suffering because of what, like if he's suffering because of what I'm doing,
mm-hmm.
and then we go back to friends mode. and and we say, and like he would come to me and say, hey, I just want you to be my friend, and I want to talk about my wife. So that puts everything in a whole other perspective. I'm like,
Say
okay,
that a little slower. I want you to be my friend and what?
I want you to be my friend right now, and I want to talk about my wife.
Ah,
And
love that.
yeah, so I'm
Okay.
all of a sudden I'm a third party. I'm not the wife, you know.
Right.
So then that's exactly the way I talked to him back then. And I said, I want you to be my friend. And so he was like, and that's when we know that it's important and you have to listen. Whatever is happening, it's bad. So then I like, he would really completely listen and be like, okay, well, so what's happening? And I say, this is what's happening with my husband. And I knew it ahead of time. He knew it ahead of time, but still, these are these challenges. And then he would tell me as a friend what to do so that my husband would be able to fix it for me. And or what is my husband maybe thinking? What is my husband maybe facing? And what are his issues? Maybe he's feeling alone too, because you're not talking much business to him. And like, because that's a real issue, I think, that a lot of entrepreneurs feel, that they're alone in their own business, in their own bubble, right?
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about it that way. And so, for anybody listening who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or you're an entrepreneur, new stage or experience, my own experience of this, as I'm listening to you, is Yeah, because I've got this, oh boy, and I was just talking about shouldville. Okay, I got a should
Yeah.
around this that says that when I'm with him, I should not be talking about my business. But it means that he doesn't know what I'm doing. And it is really, really lonely. And he's very supportive, but he's also clueless because I had a rule. I'm going to be talking with him, you know, after the summit, after the show. Let's see, I'll write my notes. So anyway, because yeah, this concept of, oh, I shouldn't be talking with him about my business because I'm engaged in my business so much. But it makes it very different, to not have that. It does make it lonely. So this is a wonderful way to have a conversation, Adele.
Yeah. Yeah. We love it.
Everybody is on the same page because you're actually asking permission. When you say, I need to talk to my friend, or I want you to be my friend right now, you guys are giving each other an opportunity to actually agree to come into that conversation. And that's a very useful skill. I can see where it would work about my business too. I could go to market. I could say, I want you to be my friend right now because I can talk to you about my business.
Yeah.
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 It would be a different conversation.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. Or I want you to be another business owner and weigh in on this idea I have, or I want you to be my end user. It's a role play. It's a role play, and it works amazingly.
Got
Like a lot of times his ideas, like he has have business ideas, and I just go to the role of somebody who is prospecting him as a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I play that role completely, and I'm not the wife, not somebody who knows him. I don't care what he's doing. I don't care if there's like people raving about him or negative stuff or whatever. I don't care. I'm completely, somebody who doesn't know him at all, and it's like blank space. And now put it out there and let me see what I like, or if I don't like it or whatever. So it works very well. I love this design or architecture, or I don't know what to call it.
Well, okay, so let's design, architecture, framework. We'll call it a conversation template. But yeah, so really this idea that you can ask someone to be a certain persona, to be part of, to be in a role-playing thing. We're gonna call this the no drama club. So that's a lovely thing for an entrepreneur to have. It's a sounding board without having to go do market testing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like when you're the friend and you come with a lot of compassion, a lot of understanding, a lot of no blaming, no judgment, and I'm just here for you, and I don't care how bad it is. I just want to help you, and it's not affecting me, so I don't have any emotions around it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, because it's very different than if I'm the wife, or I'm the partner, and I might have some emotion around that, and there might be worry about the potential impact. Whereas if you can come into it with the energy of, I'm just a friend, just listening, and it doesn't impact me. It is an advanced brain game, because we're not going into the land of delusion here. We're just making a conscious choice to be present.
Yeah.
And that's a really good skill for anyone, but especially if you're married to an entrepreneur, to be able to just be present. It gets messy. So we're going to let people weigh in. If you've got a question and you're on live, you can put it into the chat. If you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur partner, and you have a question about how this particular skill might work for you, this is a good time, and you can pop those in. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, Adele, I want you to be my friend so I can talk about my husband. I want you to be a business owner so I can talk about the plan I have. I want you to be a potential prospect so I can run, this new product idea by you. That makes you a very valuable resource in the relationship. And it's a priceless skill. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you ever want to be an entrepreneur? We know what product you can do. You could build out a course just on how to be the successful partner of an entrepreneur.
Exactly. Like I actually see that the daughter mother thing too that is in the chat right now. This actually I started it because of a big issue I had with my mom, or my mom had with me. We had a big fight. And we weren't talking much. Like it was really bad and brutal for, I don't know, a couple of months or something when I was a teenager. And I think I was like 16, 17 or something. And it was so bad that like we couldn't even talk. Like every time we would just talk and it would just become a fight. It would become a fight. And then so what I did was, and my mom loves writing, loves reading. So what I did was I wrote her a 12 or 15 page long letter.
Wow.
I wrote her a letter because I thought, okay, she loves reading. Oh, something else to know is that that fight was so big that we wouldn't let the other party talk fully, and then we start like judging them or like whatever and be like, no, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. So I thought I need to really talk and tell her everything, and then I'll be able to listen. Okay, and probably that's what she felt too. But anyway, so I wrote this letter, long letter, and then like it took me probably like 5 days to write it up. And she loves poems, so I actually added some poems too about family and stuff. Like it was very well instructed.
That's quite a determined teenager.
Oh yeah.
5 days on a writing project and doing poetry. This was really important to you.
Yes, I really wanted to make my point across. And then so that was the first time I used this model. That I told my mom in that letter, that Mom, I love you so much, but right now I don't want to talk to my mom because she is also talking to her daughter that she's responsible for. A teenager daughter in Iran. I completely understand it. But for you to understand what I'm doing or what I'm saying, I need you to be a teenage friend for me. Become a teenager friend for me. And then think about everything I'm saying from this perspective. And then I started like all I was talking about, I wrote mom, and then with a red pen, I crossed it. On top of it, I said friend. Oh, no, I didn't say friend. I said Pedram, that's her name. I said Pedram. I kept calling her Pedram, my best friend. And then I went on and on. You can see in my bio that she is one of my best friends. And so I went on and on, just every time I was making a point and I wanted to call her out, I would do this so that I would remind her that you're still not the mom.
This isn't about you. Don't take it personally.
and then I went
brilliant
all the way out. And then I said, now I want you to be my mom again. And then I was like, I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm waiting to hear what you have to say. I'm waiting. I do want to do that. And maybe I become you. Maybe I become a mom. And maybe this. And then anyway, so then I put the letter outside her bedroom, like during the night when she was sleeping, and it was a weekend, so I could sleep in. And I went and I slept in the morning I woke up to a small note. I have all of them, by the way. I have a small note that she wrote to me, that I love you so much. It's like this is like the first day that I ever met you, and that I think that you were just born and I never knew you this way. And this is so amazing. And then at the end she signed, I don't know what to call myself, Mom Pedram, which is her name, or your student. And I have goosebumps right now. It was great. So Kathy, or I don't know if you call your name, yeah, Kathy, this is for you. I think it would really work. You can completely rent, yes. But just say, if you had a daughter, think about it.
Oh, what a great idea. That's a really lovely thought. Okay, so for those who think that you might have to work a little bit with your entrepreneur, or for those entrepreneurs who think that maybe they're going to need to have a little work done, or their partner's going to need to do a little work around this, writing the letter might be a good place to start, so that you can actually lay out this idea of, for the purposes of this conversation, this letter, that's lovely. Just to tell them up front, and to remind them. I love the way you did the reminders, because I can see where this could be in the first time that I would try to do this. I can see where reminding the other person who they are in the story might be really important, especially if it's about, major decisions, or it's about stuff that has been stockpiling, which often happens with entrepreneurs. What you described about, working long hours, maybe not being fully present when they are present, mechanically here, but mentally elsewhere, all of those things occur, and a lot of unfinished conversations can stockpile. And I hadn't even thought about it until we went into this conversation, that, oh yeah, it is the entrepreneurial dilemma. How do you stay present for the people that you care about, and at the same time be totally engaged in your business? And so these are some great ways to have this conversation, Adele. Awesome. 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 Okay. So that's the biggest challenge. When it comes to being the partner of an entrepreneur, what's your biggest fear?
His stress.
Say that again.
His stress levels.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know why you would be concerned about that. I don't find it stressful at all to be an entrepreneur.
He actually says that. And I'm like, bullshit. I'm sorry. He keeps telling me that no, I'm not stressed. I love this. I'm like, yeah, okay.
The adrenaline, I get it. Okay, I get it. There's a pace to entrepreneurialism that brings up a lot of emotions. So whatever gets someone's juices, it can be incredibly compelling. I won't say, well, yeah, well, it can be addictive. The adrenaline can be absolutely addictive. And so one of the biggest challenges then is to recognize that this might cause my partner some stress. I don't necessarily feel stressed, but they might observe some behaviors that would indicate that I was stressed. Yeah. Self-sabotage comes to mind. When an entrepreneur's behaviors are not always in alignment with building their business, yeah, it would be an indicator that maybe their stress level's a little high. But certainly the greatest gift that I think you bring is your awareness. And so managing your own stress, I know, was really important to you before you tried to tackle this.
Oh yeah, a lot. Yes, yes.
So
I've
the
spoken
greatest gift a
about it.
partner can do is manage your own stress.
Yeah.
And then how would you approach this conversation with him? Because obviously his opinion is going to be different than yours.
Yeah. See, this is a tough one because I'm really judging him from outside and he's telling me from inside, and obviously whatever he's saying has more authenticity and truth about the subject here, right? So and of course where I'm coming from is fear, but where he's coming from is, this is me, it's happening inside me. I know what's truth or and not, and obviously I don't want to lie, I'm not lying. But then there's always the challenge of, am I being truthful to myself? Am I really feeling my own stress?
Oh, that's a really key point.
Right.
All right. So if your biggest fear is about the emotional state of your entrepreneurial partner, and you check in with them and they're going, not feeling it, it might be projection.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Exactly.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. So, like he knows this. His medical background too. He's been medically um he had many issues, right? And especially the cancer, and I almost lost him twice, and that's like a very dark times of my life, and so that's where my fear is.
Ah,
And but he feels no fear about that, which I'm really grateful for, like, but I always have the fear of it coming back, and being caused, the cause being stress, and all that, and I still really think that the stress caused it the first time around too. All this stories behind that too, going almost homeless and all that kind of stuff, and that happened before him having cancer. So I always think that it's stress, and so whenever I feel that he's stressed or he's putting too many hours and whatever, uh, I get stressed out because I
yeah.
think he's stressed. So I talk to him, and then what he always tells me that really eases me is that, when I get stressed when I have a lot of things to do, but I'm taking rest, and I'm just like watching TV or being a couch potato or whatever, and I'm not doing it. That's when I'm stressed.
Ah,
If I work a lot, that doesn't mean I'm stressed. I'm actually working so that I don't get stressed, so that nothing gets in the backlog, and all the important stuff that are time sensitive and whatever gets done. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm not stressed, I'm good. But and I know that if I'm working, I don't feel that because I know that I'm getting stuff done, and so I'm not going to be stressed. But if you want me to just be with you and not do the work, I'll get stressed out. Although I'm happy I'm spending time with you, but I get stressed out, and I'm like, that completely makes sense. Like, it really makes sense.
oh no, that's a great explanation. That's a great explanation because that's exactly my experience. When I have a lot of things to do and time sensitive things to do, and the the should of I should spend some time with Mark, and so I'll go and try to watch a movie, or to sit and even something as simple as to sit and have a meal can be
Yeah.
really stressful for me if I've got all of these things that are on my mind with time sensitivities going on. So wow. being able to share that awareness would certainly dial down the drama. That's a really key awareness. So for entrepreneurs, you want to check in. When do you feel stressed? And you need to be honest about when you feel stressed. The worst thing I think that an entrepreneur can do is to try to downplay the challenge of being an entrepreneur and maintaining a relationship, any relationship. You know, if you downplay the challenge of that, you're shortchanging the possibilities in the relationship, because you guys have developed some amazing communication skills, you know, and some incredible practices. We'll keep with that word. Some incredible practices that allow you to stay engaged in the entrepreneurial space that he's in. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful, because these are not conversations that I could come up with for people, because I'm an entrepreneur. I have no clue what Mark's experience would be, you know, and so, but yeah, that's also, Mark and I are both entrepreneurs. So this is a little interesting. So we're gonna be playing this on both sides of the court. All right, so we've got the biggest challenge, the biggest fear, and the biggest fear is around stress, and realizing when you're projecting that and understanding what really stresses them out. And it's not working long hours, it's the conflict between trying to think that they should be doing this and should be doing that. So we're going to call that a double invitation to shouldville. All right, so that conflict is a real source of, it's really the source of the stress. So being clear with each other about expectations would probably help that. All right, anything that, let's see. Oh, there we go. We got a comment. Okay, challenging entrepreneurs to try to put themselves in the shoes of someone who isn't an entrepreneur. Good luck with that. I'm not sure my brain is that flexible, but it would have the virtue of not having been tried. So we can figure out a way to try these things. What did we miss? Let's see. So when it comes to being married to an entrepreneur, aha, what's your biggest frustration?
Frustration. I guess that was, you know, the first thing I talked about, being alone, and not being heard sometimes, just because he's not there, or because
he's not there.
Yeah, he's not there, and or when he is, I think that he's already dealing with a lot of stuff, so I shouldn't add more to it. And that happens, that does happen. And so, you know, like, for example, when, like, this event you're putting together, right? It's huge. There's a lot of work that goes into it, lots of work, right? So I know. And when, for example, same thing he is doing, and I know he's prepping for it, and he's working extra hours and all that, and, you know, something has happened for me during the day, I can't talk to him about it. You know, I don't want to. If I have to, of course I will, but I wouldn't. So I just, you know, put it in the back burner till he is done, and I can talk to him, or I can tell him, or you know, like, sometimes I can't. You know, like, we are couples, right? So there's a lot of stuff that he has to do for life, or for parents or friends or whatever, but I can't tell him during that time. So, like, I tell him later that this is what you need to do, by the way, and you have only this much time, and and that's only what you can do. I can't do it. So, but yeah, being alone or feeling lonely sometimes in a relationship, and, you know, really frustrates me, and of course, like, I think everybody. But I think he also maybe shares the same frustration being alone. You know, sometimes, not being able to really make his business frustrations or money frustrations, something that I can feel, and not just know, but feel, because that's his life. That's what's going on in his day-to-day life. So if I'm a real good partner, I would want to know about it and feel it too, but sometimes I can't. And I think so he may have the same level of frustration that he's not heard much, like, yeah. I think like sometimes we talk different languages. It's like as if we're talking different languages. So
yeah. So, okay. So that's a really, really clear answer. Thank you so much, because this idea that entrepreneurs sort of do have a language, and that people who are not entrepreneurs have a different language. And so the frustration about not being understood is what, because the challenge is the time and the being here, or being here but not present. Yeah. And so that's a wonderful skills as far as the role playing and the letter writing that reminds people of what role they're in when they're reading it. Right. And then the fear of the stress being overwhelming, and being able to communicate on what really is the source of stress, because it wasn't what was obvious. It was the opposite in a way.
And can I say something else that I just remembered about frustration was that the other thing that I think is funny is that, sometimes I keep, telling him that, hey, you've been working a lot, we haven't spent much time, or let's spend time together. And he's like, yeah, okay, we should do that. Yeah, I agree. Okay. And then, and then later, like, let's say the day after, he finds like 2 hours, or he clears up 2 hours in his schedule. So it's like very short notice. And then he's like, oh, let's spend time together. I'm like, dude, I've got a life too, I have plans too, and you weren't in my plan. But he's like, oh, what? I thought you wanted time together. I'm like, I do, but not like this. Like, let's have some kind of schedule and whatever. But he's like, no, but my time is like, my time. My time isn't like this. Like this is how much time I've got right now, and I really, how hard I tried to get this time to myself, and for you, I did it for you. And now you're saying no, you're going out with your friend. I'm like, because I have planned it a week ago. So,
I am feeling your pain here on behalf of everyone who is in relationship with an entrepreneur. This is what it's like. So it's like, okay, if you have zero tolerance for a journey that has to have some give and take and some practice going back and forth, don't marry an entrepreneur. Don't get in partnership with an entrepreneur.
That's the thing. I married him, and then he started this journey. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm not into it, but still.
Yeah. And it's the shift that happens when someone becomes an entrepreneur is not to be underestimated. The brain works differently, and there are so many people being pushed out of corporate America and into entrepreneurship who just are not prepared for this. So I think that this is a hugely helpful conversation. And one of the reasons that I was just so delighted that you could come on the show is because right now, one of the demographics that's seeing the largest uptick in suicide rate is among entrepreneurs, because the pressure of shift, they don't have a lot of time to adapt into this new way of their brain being rewired, and it impacts every area of their life. You cannot be an entrepreneur and expect that your parents, your spouse, your kids, your friends, everyone is going to be impacted by this one decision, and it may not have even been your choice to make. Now, I'm an entrepreneur by accident. but it was an accident that occurred over 30 years ago. So I've had an opportunity to adapt. But my marriages, and I say marriages because I have two that did not survive because an entrepreneur's brain works a little differently. And I take full responsibility for the fact that I picked a partner who was corporate America. You know, there was just not a lot of compatibility there. Now that I know more about how the entrepreneurial brain is wired, my partner is another entrepreneur. You know, it's like we still have the same, just saying, we still have the same challenges with the here but not here and not here to be able to talk to each other. We still have some of the same fears around stress. And this conversation, even though stress management is my background, Adele, your perspective from the partners on this whole conversation is just really, really helpful and so needed. This is information that if people knew, they would have better communication around it, because at least they would know that these are the potential problem areas. And then when it comes to the frustration, you know, this idea of spontaneity and lack of context.
Yes.
You know, I love the yeah. But you said you wanted time. Yeah. Because I've done that. You know, and so has Mark, depending on which one of us was engaged in the most in a project. And it's like, well, I've got, you know, time right now. And I'm like, I've got a deadline, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So the ability to keep people in the loop, especially around calendars and around expectations, and, you know, this idea that, yes, I want to spend time with you, and I'd like 24 hours notice, you know, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a big piece of peace in the planet would be enhanced if people took these skills, especially about expressing their expectations, into all of their relationships. You know, because I know a lot of business relationships that have gone south because there was not this clear expectation around time. I think that it sums it up really, really well. Cool. All right. Any last thoughts? Anything you want people to know?
Yes. I think in my heart, I always know that he loves me and he wants to do right by me. And I think that always helps with all the fears and pain and frustrations and everything that I feel. And that's what gives me my awareness, you know, or compassion or whatever I'm feeling towards him, and understanding him as well, because I'm sure he wants to do it, he just can't do it. And I think that's why, you know, even because when we got together we were kids, but later on he picked this business or previous businesses and stuff, and we both learned what to do. But the only reason we stuck to it was because we knew we really love each other and we would do everything we can and to be successful, to make money, to do all the stuff that we want to do and in our dreams and stuff. But still, the main thing, the most important thing, and the first thing we got to do is to stick together because we love each other and accept all the hardships that come to us, you know. And so yeah, so I think just don't lose sight of that, of your love, and then that would help you, you know, navigate through all of this.
That's a really good point. Get yourself on solid ground with the committed relationship And this is true whether it's a life partner, whether it's a parent, whether it's a child. Get on solid ground with what's the framework of the relationship. What is it that I'm solid about, and having that conversation makes everything else just a little easier. And that's what we're looking for on the show. That's why we call it teaspoons. We're looking for the things that make it a little easier. So, Adele, thank you so much for helping it make it a little easier for people to be in partnerships with entrepreneurs, and perhaps for entrepreneurs to sustain relationships.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me, Jackie. That was absolutely so much fun and really, really great, amazing discussion. And I guess I got like goosebumps all around me. It was really, really good. But I think you're about to get a letter from your daughter Caddy.